everyone, I'm Sarah, and it is a privilege to read my sister's testimony before you today. I'm Virginia, and this is my salvation story. Before knowing Jesus, I lived in the way that modern-day society would likely call a successful, acceptable life. I always thought that being a good person, always putting others before myself and lending a hand when needed, would lead to a fulfilling life. I grew up in a household that was influenced by Christianity, and I remember my mom dragging me to church every Sunday. But I hated it. I would tell my mom that church was boring, and every time I went, I would be half asleep because nothing resonated with me. More recently, I was in a relationship that was Christless and making choices on a daily basis that would not be acceptable in the eyes of the Lord. To provide some background, I was in a long-term relationship with my former boyfriend for almost 7 years. Over the past 2 years, I started to ask myself questions like, what happens when we die? Do we really go to heaven? And is this all what life is? Thankfully, I have a sister and brother-in-law that are both saved, so when I would have these questions, I would go to them. They would always ask my former boyfriend and I to go to church with them, but I would always decline it. I was apprehensive that it would affect my relationship. Growing up with a mom who exposed me to Jesus also had me believing that there was a Jesus, but I never understood the depth of the relationship or what being saved meant. My former boyfriend always seemed hesitant, so I would suppress my thoughts in the pull I had to know more about Jesus, and I would continue on in life as if I did not have those thoughts and questions. As time went on, the feeling I had to know more about God remained constant, while my feeling of hopelessness continued to progress in my relationship, and I continued to doubt if I was really the right thing for me. My doubts and feelings finally reached the point where one day I reached out to God in the shower and began to talk to him about how confused I was, and that although I did not follow him or even know if he was listening, I asked for a clear sign about my relationship, whether I should marry the man I had just bought a home with. The relationship worsened, and things began to unfold in front of me in very visible ways. I knew that I would be denying the truth, but I continued to ignore my situation, as Jesus was being very blunt with me in my current path that was not my plan for my life. In August of this year, I ended my 7-year relationship, sold my house with my former boyfriend, and moved back in with my parents. I had reached rock bottom. During one of the first nights back with my parents, I was having another shower chat with God. Something finally came over me, and I said the following words out loud. Lord, I surrender to you. Take everything. I want to only follow you and want to live out my days being a follower of you. I don't care if that means I end up being alone for the rest of my life. I would rather be alone in life and have eternity with you than to be in a relationship and live a life that is led by darkness. I give my life to you. I stood there for a few moments feeling tearful, as if I just confessed my love for someone for the first time. I got out of the shower and felt a release of emotions. As the days continued, I felt more drawn to read my Bible, which had been collecting dust since my sister purchased it for me back in 2018. So I pulled it out and started reading Matthew, suggested by Sarah of a place to start, and began to truly pray to Jesus, thanking him for everything he had given me in this life, even the heartbreak. All I could think of these first initial days of how it felt was as if someone pulled a curtain up from my eyes. It had been approximately 7 weeks since I surrendered to the Lord. Since then, my view and approach to relationships has been different. I know now that a world without Jesus can bring relationships that lack a strong foundation. Without Jesus, the depth of relationship can only go so far. There can still be meaningful conversations, but the foundation of the relationship will never be as strong as a relationship with someone who walks with Christ. I experienced many trials and tribulations in my previous relationship that created a lot of anxiety. At one point, it was beginning to be difficult to continue on with everyday life. Since I surrendered to the Lord, I feel peace in what He has taken the burden and anxiety off my shoulders. It is as if He had said, okay, I'm going to remove this weight from you, and while you still have some trauma and emotions to work through, know that I'm with you during this time and will carry you through this and the rest of your life into eternity. That is support that I have never felt with anything or anyone, Beginning this new life with Jesus feels like a new relationship. It is exciting, supportive, and peaceful.
Amen. Isn't that great? It's great. Go ahead, Adam.
I baptize you, my sister-in-law, and now spiritual sister, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.